Ian Nepomniachtchi doesn't care how he gets it done as long as the wins stack.
Exactly, and we are off to another game. We again see Jan going back to the pattern of defense. But yeah, Magnus has been in full control, but yeah, some unfortunate losses. We saw, like you said, that blunder. Also at that time there, loss on time. I don't know what happened there, Robert. Again, like, do you think he just forgot about the clock for a second?
I think maybe your point was a good one, that he looked to bring that rook all the way across the board, and it's a distant move, hard to get off in time when you only have a couple seconds. But no matter what the reason was, maybe we'll have a chance to ask Magnus. The match is getting closer, and instead of Jan spiraling out of control, he is now keeping this match close. He is only down by a couple games, 2-game margin. So it's going to be a tougher fight than Magnus would have hoped for.
Right, so we see the move knight b2, defending the knight on f3. Perhaps now a move like rook e8 by Jan. I like this one. Now he can recapture the king. Maybe then move the king over to d8. So then he can bring this rook on h8 into the game. He goes knight, takes e8. It looks a little bit passive at first glance, but he can always reroute his knight with, let's say, knight e7, and then trade off the bishops with bishop to f5.
And that rook on a1, if it were already on e1, we'd be talking about an advantage for white because you're first to the open file. But Magnus expands on the queen side. Said, my rook may be in its starting square, but I can develop it from where it sits. Let's push pawns up the board, a4, knight b3, and so on. This is a very Magnus-style position.
Exactly, he's slowly but surely improving, but I also really like how Jan is rerouting his pieces. He goes knight to e7, now he can go bishop to f5, or king f7, move up his king, his rook can potentially come into the game. And Magnus is gaining space over here on the queen side, but I don't really see what he's achieved just yet.
Does he want the bishop pair? Like d takes c4, knight takes c4, the bishop on d6. It doesn't really have too many squares to go to. You don't want to go up to b4, the rook will go to b1 and kick it around some more. But if you take on d6 and the knight takes back, black is fully developed with no real weaknesses that I can see.
Right, and that is why Jan goes bishop b6. He does not mind the trade. Magnus now goes bishop to a3, but I think Jan is doing absolutely fine here. Like you said, Magnus has the bishop pair, but his isolated pawn on d4 deprives him of an advantage. So rook d7, nice move by Jan, defending the pawn on c7.
And white needs to be careful because knight coming to d5, that knight protects c7. It also could jump to f4. The b5 pawn, its advance is looking pretty good, but it can also be vulnerable. in my eyes, that bc6, knight takes c6, and that pawn on a6 is a future target. The b pawn is sprung free, the d4 pawn is loose, the white king is in trouble, and c5, a very similar idea. I think that b takes c6 is likely, and Jan, he has the upper hand.
Right, exactly. If you take on c6, he's going to recapture with the knight. I like what Jan is doing here. He's playing quickly and confidently, and what's great for him is that he's actually outplaying Magnus a little bit in these endgames. The pawn on d4 is weak. Magnus therefore goes knight c2. I think a correct decision to not allow this knight to jump into c6, as it would put massive pressure on the white position. Also keep in mind the d pawn for the moment is pinned, as it would hang the bishop on d3. So let's see how Jan will tighten the screws here.
He brings his king up in the center. White does the same. I like the choice for both of them. Where's progress? How does either side move forward? Is it f5, f4 for black? Just trying to create a secondary weakness in the position.
Wait, what is pawn takes d4? Now Magnus can recapture with a knight, and you can take an f3, and black is stuck with all of these weaknesses.
Did you see Jan? He was very upset with himself. He chastised himself. He completely overlooked knight takes d4, grabbing this bishop on f3.
Yeah, now Magnus takes on f3, he recaptures, but look at this, knight d4, shutting the rook out. Magnus now wants to go king e2, and Robert, what has happened? Jan was in the driver's seat, he was putting a bit of pressure. Now all of a sudden it looks like he might just be lost. King e2 is coming after the rook moves, there's rook c7, and I don't see how you're keeping this together.
One tiny oversight loses Jan the game. I mean, he must be in a losing position. Magnus, about 30 seconds himself, we saw him lose on time. That was shocking. It's not going to happen again.
Yeah, king d3, he's sacking the f2 pawn, but you don't really care about that. It's very difficult for black to create a passer. On the king side, rook a3, I guess you just go king up to c4, or here, or to c2. Everything looks winning. Goes king e4, this pawn on a7 is going to drop Robert, and that should be the game.
The knight doesn't even have any good moves. You got to go knight g8, but there might even be some ideas to checkmate the black king. Not right now, but knight f5, rook g7 would be a mating net, if not for rook a4 check. But just take a7, you're easily winning as black is tied down.
This is so unfortunate for Jan. Again, like, he has to avoid these blunders. He goes rook a1. Now white cannot take it. There's rook e1. So Magnus takes the a7 pawn, and rook d7. Such precision, paralyzing the knight as it can no longer go to d6.
And he's going to bring his knight in, a7 next. And I think at the very best for black, he's down a full piece. And he's not even getting the b5 pawn.
Now this is over. Magnus up a full piece.